Hello everyone, today we'll be making holiday mandalas. Mandalas were a big part of Asian culture for hundreds of years, featuring some of the most intricate and beautiful designs. While there are thousands of mandalas with unique meanings, most mandalas are concentric circles with a central focal point. Mandalas are also inspired by shapes in nature. Making mandalas can be very meditative and a calm activity. Today we are putting a new spin on mandalas and using them to make holiday cards for our friends and family. For today's mandalas, you will need the materials: a black or white piece of paper, paints. They can be acrylic paints, finger paints, and tempera paints. Today I'll be using the colors white. This is an acrylic paint.
It also helps to have the paint taken out in any tray. So if you have a palette, that's great to use for paint. And if you don't have a palette, you can take any tray that you have and put small drops of paint that you can use for your mandalas. So we've taken all the Christmas colors like red, green, white, and we happen to have some gold, but don't worry if you don't have these exact colors, and don't worry if you don't have any gold, And now you're going to use
The
the following tools to actually make the mandalas. You're going to have some toothpicks. If you have them in your house, you can ask your parents if there are some lying around in the kitchen. You can also have skewers or anything that are like that shaped like toothpicks. And if you don't have any toothpicks in the house, you can use a very, very sharp, sharpened pencil, because we can use the tip of those pencils as a tool for putting our paint. We will also need Q-tips. So Q-tips are something that most of us have in our homes. And the Q-tips, what we will have to do is take out the cotton off of the Q-tips, just like that, and then we're going to use just the stick part. So before you get started, it is a very good idea to have all your materials near you, okay? So have your Q-tips, your toothpicks, your paint, and a tray or a palette for paint, maybe some paper towels and other things ready nearby, as well as your card and anything else you think that you may need. We talked about having a pencil, but a pencil with an eraser in the back that has a flat top is very important, because if you see our mandala, there are different sizes of dots that we're going to be making, and we will use different tools for making those different sizes of dots. The smallest dots are made with the toothpicks. The second larger dots are made with the tip of the Q-tips. And the third very, very large dots are made with the back of the pencil. So that's why we want to have as much of this ready to go and available to us, so that once we get started, we don't have to stop and we can keep going. So now we are going to try to find the center of our paper. And you can do that if you want to be very precise. You can measure it with a ruler and get the exact center point, or you can just use an estimate, Zara here, you can use an estimate and say, okay, here is the center point of my paper, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and put my first dot. So before you begin, you want to choose the color of your first dot, and Zara has a mild spot where she has put that dot already in, and she's going to take it and just put the dot gently down, just like that. Just set it down and lift it up, and that's our first dot. If there is some black showing like that, we can always take a little bit more paint and cover up the black, but that's all we want to do. And we want to more paint and then put the paint in those dots. Now, after this, you'll take more paint on your toothpick and then put a dot between, we're going to put two dots between those dots. So one closer to one circle and one closer to the other circle. And you will continue to do that all around. This is called walking the circle, walking the circle. So we're going to put dots all around the circle. And that completes our first circle. After this, we're going to take our Q-tip and take a different color than the one that you used before. We have chosen to use red, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to put dots at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And we just want to make sure that we go ahead and make those dots a little bit more visible so they are prominent. And now we're going to take more paint and put dots in between those dots. And we want to leave a little bit of room between the circle and the dots. So now that is complete, and at this point we can go ahead and take our toothpick and use the color, either use the same color or a different color than we used before, and we're going to put small dots around every dot that we put, every red dot. So this is, again, it's called walking the dots, and we're going to put small dots all around the red dots. If you feel like you're running out of paint, then you want to go ahead and get more paint. You don't want to try to go over the same dots multiple times because you may end up smudging the dots. But remember to keep a very light hand, a steady hand, and you also want to make sure that you just breathe in and out, because this is supposed to be a very calming activity. It's not something that you're going to stress out about. If you are not able to get the result you want, all you want to do is go a little slower. Instead of trying to go faster, just go a little slower and put small deliberate dots all around the circles. When you're putting the dots, you want to stay away from other dots, and you also want to stay away from the white dots that you put. So once you've completed that activity, you are going to go ahead and put another circle, but this time the way we will do it is we will put the center dot in such a way that it's a little further away. So we'll demonstrate in just a second. And go ahead and put that center dot above all the dots, all the red dots, like right in line above the line. And that dot is going to be a little bigger than the other ones that you'll put. So there's one more left to go, and that's it. And now we're going to make another row of dots. For us, it's green. So we'll make another row of dots coming towards the center, not touching any of the other dots. So you want to just put, I think, just 2 or 3 dots at the most. You want to not try to jam in any dots. You just want to put what fits naturally and naturally distant. So for us, it's only basically 2 dots that can go in the middle of those dots. And we're going to go ahead and complete that circle and complete the and this is how we're going to go ahead and finish the circle. And we're nearly done. And that completes the second row of our circle. So we're going to go and now take the Q-tip, and we want to dip it in another paint color of our choosing. And right above the points, we are going to go make a dot right above each of those pointy tips. So we might need to take more paint. And you have to hold the Q-tip perpendicular so that the full size of that tip reaches the paper. Now we're going to take the color on a different color on the Q-tip and go in the middle of each one of those leaf-like things that we built. And now we're going to practice you doing a small swish on any rough paper that you may have so that you don't spoil your card. And what you want to do is take a small amount of paint on your Q-tip, and it's like making a Nike swish. Like a Nike swish, or an eyebrow, or just a like small curved thing. So that's what you want to practice doing consistently as much as you can. Okay, so whenever you feel ready, you can go ahead and make those on your mandala. So the dots that are between the dots that are between the leaves, which is the white dots in this case, actually, you're going to take, if you're going to use red, you want to use the opposite color. So whatever color you use, you want to go ahead and use the opposite of that color. So you can use white for the red dots, or you can use red for the white dots. And once you have your color picked, it's the dots that are between the two leaves are the ones that are going to have a swish on one side. And it's important to not take too much paint on your Q-tip because you want to have enough just to make that swish. As long as you don't touch any dots, there you go. So you're going to have, and if you see the black paper, just move on. That means you don't have enough paint on your Q-tip or your toothpick, and you want to take more. So I would say just take more paint for every dot or every other dot that you're making, so you get a nice consistent pattern. And what you're looking for is that it tapers up to the top. So it just tapers up. Looking for a nice swish is what it's called. You don't want to go over it with your toothpick in the other direction. You only want to go up in one direction. And then there's that last one, and then that's it. And after that, that's one side of the circle. You're going to take your Q-tip and make 3 dots on the other side of the circle, starting with the top, making the largest circle on top. It should not touch any other circle, and the other dots will be smaller, just like that. So now you see that we have all the row completed. We've done all our swishes, and we did the other side of the swishes by putting dots over there. And now we're going to go and do another row around this row, and let's see how we're going to go about doing that. So we're going to use the biggest thing that you have to put dots, and be very careful. Just touch the tip of the pencil, the back of the pencil, and we're going to get nice big dots right over there. And if you don't get enough paint, that's fine. Just go over it one more time and put a nice dot of paint. And we are going to, once that paint dries, we're going to come back, and now we're going to just go and complete that all around the circle. And that was a nice big dot right in place there. And you can turn your paper however you need to just get those dots right in there. And so right above the white dot in an alternate color, that's how we're going all around the paper. And so we have 2 more left, and then we've done all around the paper. All right. Then those big dots that we put, be careful not to touch it. And we're going to take a small toothpick, and then we're going to walk the dots again. So we're going to walk the dots around the big dots. So we're going to make small dots around the big dots. You might need a little bit of patience here. Just again, same thing, don't try to not touch any of the dots. That's one of the rules that we're trying to keep, is everything has its own space and we're not touching them, and make them as equidistant as you can. And so what you want to look for is you can still go and do 12, 3, 6, 9, and then put 2 dots in between them. Or you can just trust yourself and go.
You want to make sure you don't touch the dots. You don't touch the white dots.
After we put dots all around the big dots and we've finished walking those dots, we're going to take our toothpick, the end of the toothpick, and put the red dots to end of the actually the Q-tip, and we're going to put the red dots right between the bigger dots. And then to finish off, we're going to make swishes in the center with another complementary color that will complete our outer circle. So what we're doing is something like this. So now we're going to be doing the swishes that are just 3 swishes, and that's what we're going to complete over here. So again, the colors are whatever you want them to be. I'm going to put the center line in the middle first, and then make our swishes. So we'll have one turning out and then the other turning out the other way. And then continue on till all of them are done. Here we have finished all the swishes on each one of those middle areas. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our red on our Q-tip and then go and put center dots on our white. So just a small little dot in the center and give it a nice pop. You need to take more paint so that you get a nice center dot. And we're going to do the same for our red dots, and we're going to go ahead and put white on them. And so that way we will have all our dots in 2 tones of colors. All the bigger dots, not the small dots. The small dots are very small as they are. Now when you do the center dots, you want to make sure that the paint has completely dried before you try to do that. And You want to be patient and wait. And so now we can go ahead and put so everything that's dry already in the center, that's where you can add your paint and go ahead and put dots for it. And you can use a complementary color to do that. So in this case, we've picked green because as long as it's just different from the dot, the color of the dot that you've already put, it just gives a little pop, creates more depth and more layers. And there you have it. Like all art, there is no real rules for how you choose to complete your dots. There's no real rules about what type of paint you use, and no rules for exactly what patterns you decide to pick. Like we decided to make this right in the middle of our card, but we could go on the side and start from the edge and make more than one. And there's just so many different ways that we could have done this. And I think I hope you enjoyed this lesson. This is just a start. And we showed you all the basics of how to do mandalas and how to use them in our, for Christmas by using Christmas colors and patterns. And so have fun with it. Thank you very much and have a very Merry Christmas. Bye.